at Central Combat Sports for this edition of the Combat Corner with Cedric Benn. Welcome back, dude.
Yes, let's do this again.
So we don't really have a lot of stuff that we missed over the weekend in regards to local stuff, so we were watching some fights, though. I always like that you kind of score the fights yourself. I always see it on Twitter, so I think that's pretty cool, but tell me about what you've seen this weekend.
So this past weekend, the main event was Julian J-Rock Williams versus Jared Swift Hurd. Shout out to Jared Swift Hurd. We have the same birthday, so I really like him. Julian J-Rock Williams, 27-1. His only loss was to one of the Charlo brothers. And Jared Swift Hurd, he's 23-1. I forget who he lost to, but he's a good boxer, tough guy. Jared Hurd, his main strength is just like imposing his bigger body over guys. A lot of people, there's some nickname called a weight bully because he looks like he's too big for the weight class, but you can't blame. If he can make the weight, you can make the weight.
Scale don't lie, apparently.
Exactly. And the only way that you would know if someone's killing themselves making the weight is if later on in the fight where they would get tired out from, that's where your muscles get tired. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so he was the champion going into the fight. He was the champion. This was his first hometown defense. Not only his first defense, but in his hometown. J-Rock Williams, I haven't heard from him in a while. I heard he was an up and comer a couple of years ago. Took a loss to Charlo, and with that, and anyways, I'll touch on that later. Took a loss, and had a couple of fights coming up, and this was his big comeback. Just mentally, it's just very tough. Especially, he when he was speaking at doing his post-fight interview, and he started crying just because of the path that he went through. Especially how hard it could be with these days with social media. He said he had to turn it off because you just think of it, how harsh could people be with he just said he was seeing memes of him.
I just turned my Twitter off, turned my Instagram off. I block all the good stuff and all the bad stuff because the boxing world, they make it seem like fighters take a loss and they can't come back, and I just knew that wasn't the case. Boxing world, stop. And
the other thing that I want to touch on is it's a good and bad thing, from the legendary Floyd Mayweather, how much he I wouldn't blame. I'm kind of blaming Floyd Mayweather in a funny way, not in a negative way, but his undefeated record and how he marketed himself as that. So a lot of people that would you say like the casual fan that don't really follow the sport, they'll just think if a guy has one loss, he's not good anymore during that era, especially because Floyd was the biggest fighter in sports, and so. But now that it's getting back to people realize even if you have a couple of losses doesn't mean nothing. You can still come back as long as you stay focused and train hard. Anyways, J-Rock, I didn't even talk about the fight yet. Sorry.
Yeah, who won? Because if these guys both have one loss, someone had their first loss on the weekend, right?
Yeah. So, long story short, Julian J-Rock Williams came through with the upset. He was a 7-1 underdog. I usually don't bet on fights, but going to this one, a lot of people were counting J-Rock out again because of the one loss, just because he had one loss, and it was against a good fighter, and so it was a big surprise. Even the commentators were, a lot of people were going for Hurd just because they thought, he's a crowd pleaser because of the type of fighter he is, just like to come through and not really a specific technique. A lot of times he's not even in his boxing stance. He's just throwing whatever he sees is just throwing. Sometimes not with good technique, just swinging his arms. Julian, he stayed focused, maintained his boxing stance, boxing skills. There's a way that you can come forward without pushing a person, just in your boxing stance, keeping your hands up, and he did that. Stayed in the pocket, nice combinations, and I scored it a wide margin for Williams. I forget what it was. I think I had it in one. Anyways, usually I don't bet on fights, but this one I was kind of thinking that of the outcome that was going to happen. So now, and that's the good thing, because there's all the top fighters in that 154 to 160. All divisions, not just those two ones. This fight was specifically at 154. Everyone, no one's undefeated. Everyone has one or two losses, and they're all even fights. So it's great. My boy Tony Harrison from right from across the border has a rematch with one of the Charlo brothers. I keep saying one of the Charlo brothers because they're both twins, and it's very hard they're literally identical twins. One's at 154 and the other one's at 160. The only way that I can really tell the difference most of the time is because one of them will have a different hairstyle, but most of the time they'll still have the same hairstyle. But anyway, so June 23rd, that rematch is happening between Tony Harrison and one of the Charlo brothers. I believe the same outcome's gonna happen, but that's a few weeks away. We got some other fights coming up. So yeah, what else we got?
We have the MMA coming up next month. So I have some of the fights here, some local people, some people you might know, and have a little bit of info on their opponents and stuff like that. I think they have like 7 fights announced so far. I think Kyle Prepperlick was supposed to be on it. It's Prospect Championship Fighting. It's going to be at St. Denis Center on June 15th. Nice. And we have Randy Field from Windsor actually making her pro debut. Nice. She was a boxer, and she's actually going up against Amanda Borg, who is Ray Borg's, or he was in the UFC.
Okay.
She's 5 years pro, according to the Facebook post. So this is a pretty interesting one. Listen to this. So,
okay.
5 years pro, according to the Facebook post. It didn't give much info on her. So just really quickly, as we were sitting here, looked up her Tapology, which is like a MMA database.
Okay.
So she's 0-3. Her last fight was in 2016, and she's fighting out of New Mexico. So I pretty much don't have a lot of information on her. I don't know if any of that is true. But you know Randy, right?
Yep. With her. Her stand-up is very good. I can't really speak on the ground stuff, obviously, but I know her stand-up, her boxing skills are very good. Her coach Manuel, he's a good guy too, a good coach, fighter himself. Actually, I think he's fighting on the card also, I believe. Manuel Alvaro.
I may have missed it or may not be announced. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not on the ones that I have here. The next one I have is Matt Haskell. His brother is that Travis dude.
Yes.
Came here. He's kind of an independent fighter, and he's going up against a guy, Matty Horvolka.
Where's he from?
From London, Adrenaline.
What's his record?
Adrenaline MMA. I wasn't able to pull up his record, but...
I know Matt. He's another tough fighter too. I don't know him personally, but I've seen him fight before, and I know Travis very well, so I know he's a tough guy. So hopefully he wins. Yeah, this next one is fairly interesting one. It's 2 Windsor guys, and I know one. You might know one of the guys. The other we actually seen fight at the MMA BTC. It was that Joe Pentagoose guy from MTC. He had that one exciting fight right in the middle. Okay, him. Yes,
the tall white guy.
Yes,
so he's going up against Theo Tony, who's also from Windsor. I think he's an independent boxer. He's not fighting out of any club or anything like that.
Independent boxer.
Maybe I shouldn't say that, but he's
a local guy, so hopefully he's fighting another local guy. But may the best one win. Hopefully it's a good fight.
Yeah.
But I know that Joe Pentagoose. I've seen him fight before at that last show. He put on an exciting fight, so I know his hands are very good. So hopefully Tony's ready for a good stand-up war.
And the next one I have down here is a guy, I don't really know much of him, but I have heard the name Lance Snow before. I know he was one of the first kind of, like, they're billing it as him returning to the octagon. He was one of the first, like, when MMA was picking up, he was the local kind of guy, like him and Chucky Mady and stuff like that. He's going against a guy named James Flick, who's also from London, out of Adrenaline MMA. So there's probably more, but those are some of our local fighters that will be at the St. Denis Center on June 15th.
What time does that start? So
doors open at 5, and fights are scheduled for 6:30. So probably a little later than that, probably around 7 o'clock.
Interesting.
Some MMA bouts back in Windsor again. Pro fights again.
Perfect. I know there's actually a boxing show in Chatham that night too. But I'll have to send one of the other coaches there. Some exciting fights.
Which one are you gonna go to? You're going to the boxing, right?
I think they're probably gonna be starting at the same time. But
for sure.
We'll have we got a few coaches, so. We'll probably just have a few novices on the show, so I might just send one of the other coaches and check out these MMA fights. It's not too many. It seems it's a pretty stacked card.
It is actually a very good card, and we didn't have it here for a long time. So now for it to be coming back, the BTC one was great.
Yeah, it was definitely, especially and this is at the St. Denis Center.
It's gonna be good, I think.
Yeah, how that layout's gonna go.
It might be even better. It might be if it's at the gym.
Yeah.
You know, it's a huge gym, and with bleachers and stuff like that. So should be a good,
That's right.
good little setting. And I'll be at a wedding, so I won't be there.
Really?
But
Well, kind of like how they set up, you know how they set up the wrestling at
Exactly.
St. Clair?
Exactly. It's pretty much exactly what I'm anticipating for this MMA event. Check them out on Facebook. The graphics and stuff they did actually look really awesome. So hopefully it's a good event, and they'll run through here more and get our guys
I
on
know
there.
The TJ and Tony are making their comeback.
Oh, that's
too,
right,
their
yeah.
comeback
And
fights, too.
obviously our Windsor guys, TJ and Tony Laramie, are scheduled to be on it as well. So we're just waiting for those fights to be announced.
Yeah, man, definitely ready to see their comebacks.
And that's it. We'll be back probably next week.
Yep.
Smell ya.
All right.